Thomas Lofton. It's December 18th, Coding for Content, Session 3, with myself and Miss Emily Nelson. All right, Ms. Dawes, this is your first one, right? Okay. So I'm going to share some things with you real quick, and you can go back. I don't know if you've taken a look at the challenges that I've emailed out from like the first and second session. You can go back and do those. And some of your feedback that I remember specifically from the Lit Tech was having an opportunity to work in more of the categories and understanding what motions do, what controls, sensing, things like that. You'll get a better feel for that if you go back and test 1 and 2. This third session, you're going to be playing in several different categories as well. And the most important thing that we did last time was Ms. Kessler and I were working on creating variables for our shopping list app. We won't have to make many variables at all today. We're going to be working in a program called Cellular, which is still Snap-based, but it's going to have some different blocks. And one thing about this for both of you is when we're in Cellular, it's not quite the same as in Snap itself. In Snap, we can save a file and come back to that project later. What we have to do, if we can plan to save before we leave today, you'll actually have to go to Export. And you're going to export that project, you'll save it on your Mac, and then you can just import it next time. For some reason, Cellular works that way. Both of you were there, so I'm just going to move on ahead. I think this will probably work. So some of the key terms that I always list out, these are words and that you might want to incorporate into your classroom whenever you begin to infuse coding. They're always there at the beginning of every slideshow that we use. Cellular is similar to Snap. It does have a few differences, but the thing about Cellular is we actually have cells. We have a grid on screen as our stage, and that'll help us identify where each sprite's located. And it can also, as you'll see today as we go through the epidemic and disease challenges, that what's in one cell can directly affect what's in the cell beside it. We can program it to do such, so that when two sprites are within the vicinity of one another, they can cause each other to react to a possible change. All right, so go ahead and click here on the cellular environment link. And it's going to ask you probably for an assigned ID. You're going to do capital letter, your first initial, and then your last name, and capitalize your last name. You can but don't do all caps, just do, yeah. And it should let you go in. Click I'm a new user. All right, cellular tutorial. Yes, click go. Okay, and you can see right away it does look a little different, and it actually has the word cellular in the top right. If you will go ahead and just kind of click on the cloud, you'll notice that it says log out and it says the name you just put in. With Cellular, you can't log in with your Snap code, so that's why I'm telling you you have to export the file when you get ready to save, okay? So I don't want you to lose any work today, so we'll do export at the end. What we're going to do with Cellular is we're going to be able to see, like I said, how these sprites react to one another. And we can change the size of our sprites in this case. If you look at our code over here, what we want to do is set the size. We can set it to 100%. So why don't you go ahead and drag that block. This should be in the looks menu. And let's set the size of our froggy to 100%. Okay, you notice there's no frog on your stage, right? Okay. If you look down where the sprites are located below the stage, you'll see that there's a number 0. Go ahead and let's put in one frog. Okay. Now, our frog's in place. Go over and click the command you just drug into the workspace. And you can see now that the default size that we see our frog at is already 100%. Ms. Cox, We're just getting started. That's okay. Just getting started. We're right here at this link. Ladies, what I want both of you to do is let's go ahead and let's add 25 sprites. See if you can do that. I want to see if you can figure out how to, whenever you press the space key, program it to make a space key called the frog and get them the size of the cell. So it's going to be changing on
slightly different in their programming style, so you can have those three blocks up there. So your sprites are going to be in the blocks, and they'll be in background. So in order to get this sprite on the screen, you'll see in the bottom right it says the sprite, and there's like a number block. So go ahead and click each one in there so you can see that. So it'll pop out.
Yeah, so your workspace should look like you have over here. Yeah, because later we can go back to that code and we can reset it. What I always like to do is as I manipulate and change things, I can run multiple codes on the same workspace. Yeah, that way I can go back to my original setup.
And then he doesn't change something. So in order to change that, you would have to modify from 100 to a different.
And in this case, there's actually a block called scale to cell size. It'll perfectly fit inside one of those cells.
Which is right here. Which?
This? Oh, okay.
You don't have to link them. You just click that. And then take it smaller instead. So that changes the size.
Oh, I haven't heard that. You can't get bigger.
Okay. The frog has already been programmed with a few different costumes. What we want to do right now is create a command similar to on my screen so that when we click the frog, his costume changes to Gloomy Frog. Right now he's Happy Frog. And you'll see you'll be working with blocks in the control category and the looks category.
So you want it to be control.
And then go ahead and click on 3 of those froggies to change them to blue.
Then I change.
Let's do this style. You see where it says you're in the green flag? Let's move that operator and throw in the trash by dragging it to the left. Just the yellow. Let's go back into controls. Now let's choose one that actually says
Control right there.
that way it pinpoints a specific spot. So go ahead and click 3 frogs and change the costume. Have you already selected 3 to change? Well, it looks like, oh, they're all blue. They're all blue.
Go back to your looks. And then modify this to it says Happy Frog. And then click that one again. It should change all of them to Happy Frog. So now with your
Okay, so now it starts. We're going to use the green flag. What we're going to do is we're going to write a program that will cause our frogs to hop from one cell to the next. So we're going to use our green flag control. And we're going to program the frog to move to the next member cell. When you code that, just go ahead and run it and see what happens. And you should see your frogs move around, all right? Cool. Okay. Now,
so anytime you click the flag, they'll miss.
okay, so you're going to have to look through your categories and investigate a little bit. You've made the frogs move. Now, we want the frogs to move forever on their own. So I'd like for you to find a way to create a loop using the same green flag code you just made. That way these frogs are always jumping. You got it, so here you go. Right, now look at what you got. Those colors. You see where it says forever and there's a hole? It's called a nest. Yep, put that inside the nest. Now connect that to your green flag. Okay. And if you press stop real quick. Okay, now press the green flag. Okay. And then once you see the entire code illuminated, that means it's constantly running. Okay, so right now you all three have your frog in a forever loop. Whenever you use a loop, it's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to loop forever and ever and ever. Now we can program it to run specific iterations. If you'll look over on the left-hand side, it'll say repeat until you can quantify it with the number. You could have it repeat until you receive an answer that equals exactly what you're looking for. And last time we met, we were talking about how to use those operators to help us. We're asking a question of our students to find an answer that meets an acceptable range for us. And you can also do that with looping. That gives kids multiple chances to become successful. But in this case, if we're making the frogs hop, what we want to try and do is we want to take these frogs and we want to cause them to infect. So basically the neighbors, as you see the frogs jumping around, any frog that is above, below, left and right, or diagonally touching the same cell, that's a neighbor cell. So anybody within that little radius is going to be infected with gloom. So what we want to do right now, within the nest that you just made, you're going to want to create a code that allows your frog to be affected by the gloomy frogs. If you look at my screen, I want you to see if you can find those pieces of code to fit inside your nest. You may want to press stop before you begin. This one, the way academic is set up. I'll just let them know.
Okay.
Okay, so
You're missing
we already have that one, so we just need to add this one to it.
Well, keep this in mind, Ms. Cox. You've already have it up there, but it's part of another code block, so you can drag the same piece over multiple times.
Oh, did I do that? Okay.
Pay attention to the nesting of the blocks.
So. Are all these ones?
There's always like one or two that try to run away. They're hard to get.
No, I have one left.
No, you don't. I don't.
You can always beef up the number of sprites too, and you can see how it changes, right?
I'm just having a moment.
It's okay. So with you,
I found it, I can't find it.
what we're creating right now, we're going to put right inside of our forever loop. So we need to get a control that asks if.
All right, so you have.
You can just drag the whole block.
Just, if you guys ever get confused with how much you've got on the screen, if you want to right click inside, there's a command that's called clean up, and it'll make it really neat for you.
Yeah.
Yep. And it'll put it all on the left, that way you can see what
There
you've
you go.
got going. Thank you.
Switch to,
Yep.
and you want it
So
forever.
when you've got more.
Now we want to slide what you just made into
It's
forever.
nice to kind of have it.
You can leave that connected, yes.
Oh.
There you
Right there.
go. Now, why don't you press the green flag and let's see what happens.
I still want to see if that way goes bounce.
So look at your code. Do you have a bug that you can find? Is it changing it to the correct costume?
Yeah.
And whenever you change code while it's running, you might want to press stop
Okay.
and run again, and you should see a big change now. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
running, right? All right, once all of them are infected or gloomy, ladies, I want to see if you can undo that. Write a small code that will bring these sprites back to happy. You can use any control that you'd like. I would not use the green flag, though.
He wants to undo what we did.
Leave the code that you have on the screen, but I want you to write a new code over in your workspace that will change them all back to happy frogs.
Without using a green flag.
Without using the green flag, yes. Because we cannot command that button. We cannot give it two commands, because then when we press the green flag, both will happen simultaneously.
Oh.
Now, remember, Ms. Cox, whenever you're working with changing a sprite's appearance, you're focusing on the looks category. You don't have to have it for this one.
This would not be able to
We're just doing this.
Yeah. So now press that button, space. Or program it whichever one you want if you want to change it. So now you fixed it.
Oh, I could just do spacebar.
Well, you already did spacebar for something, so you have to
I have
pick
to
a
pick
different
another
one.
key.
So Ms. Cox, you got yours to work. What command or control did you use?
I just use space button.
Space button. What did you use, Ms. Cox? The up arrow. And what did you use, Ms. Kessler? Why did you two not use the space button?
Because the space button scales.
It scales into a certain size. Okay. So what we want to do in this case, Ms. Cox, since we have, well, and you could do that because you haven't coded that yet.
Because
like-
I missed the first one.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So when space is pressed, scale to cell size, right?
Oh.
So that way it moves them back to normal. But we're going to change it from space to the number one. So do this. Now press the number one. Okay. All right, ladies. So you have all reset your stage. What I want you to do now is we're going to go into another challenge. This is called Epidemic. I want you to save this work. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is export. Go to the piece of paper at the top near the word cellular. It's in the left corner. And you're going to export your project. And you'll notice now it's in your downloads. So anytime you get ready to come back and work within this Gloomy Frog challenge, you can always open that back up. What I need you to do at this time is go back to that sheet of paper, and you're going to click in Open, and we're going to choose Examples. It'll be on your left-hand side, the third icon from the top.
Oh, I'll need to.
And we're going to be choosing epidemic date to starter. Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I did it wrong. Sorry.
And the cool thing about these, if you notice, there's a starter and there's a final. So the actual result is always saved if you want to go back and look to see what it should look like. But we're going to try to see if you can do it first. So in epidemic, we don't have to log in again. What we're going to do is bump up our sprites. We should have 50 sprites on screen. Double check and make sure you do. And right now they should all appear as happy sprites. Just like we did with the frogs, let's make those faces move all around. The frogs jumped everywhere. I want you to make the faces move from cell to cell. And from here on out for this challenge, what I'm going to do is put my clicker on the table. I'm going to let you three work together and talk. Stay at a reasonable pace. If you have questions, Ms. Nelson and I will help you. I'd like to see if you can solve the epidemic challenge.
What we're trying to.
So what you're going to do is spread disease to the entire population. You're just going to have to check with your partners to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And you can advance.
All right, so they're moving around.
Yes, mine is.
Click on the turn set.
Yep.
It's already set up to do that.
Hold on, but,
So you click on one and it gets sick.
okay.
Now we have to make it when they're nearby each other, they make each other sick.
Oh,
Which was the.
I'm pretty sure.
That's like turning the frogs.
So you hit F control.
I did something wrong. Oh, no.
So if you stop, I press stop here, and when I click a face, it turns green. Can yours do that? So now, how do we get them? If, I wish I had my other thing.
Next time, okay, I understand. Okay. So we picked 3 last time, right?
Yeah, last time we just picked 3. It would work with anyone. It would be fast.
What do you mean?
If you would pick 3 of them to start with.
Oh, that's why we did that. Okay. So we turn 3 of those. And then, okay, it's gotta have a neighbor something. The costume has to turn, then the costume turns to something.
Number costume.
Yeah, this has to go to the second whole day.
No, that's the, if it gets near one of those, and then what you want to happen goes in the bottom.
Okay, so if it comes into contact with a healthy one, then I feel like I clicked gloomy gloomy last time.
Well, you think about, you want the sick ones to make the healthy ones sick. So if the sick one is in a nearby cell, then you change the costume to infected this one.
Then you switch the costume to infected. Did you get that? But doesn't this have to go into the green flag thing? Did you put yours in the green flag thing too?
Yeah. Can I grab all
Let's
these?
see what happens. Should we click it? Test is already like all green.
All right.
And then we need to make something and turn them all back. But we can't do space, we have to do a different thing.
That's right.
And put.
When we can pick any button we want.
You don't pick click, because that already changes their costume.
Right. It has to be a button.
Oh, this is okay.
That's the one where we picked up arrow last time and you picked space bar, remember?
So I need to go back and get another controller.
Press
When something is pressed. Space bar?
that's
Space is already,
Do you have space bar already used?
Yes, I have to use.
So it costs you
To arrow, up arrow.
I bet that'll work.
Yeah, up arrow.
Did you guys make the hospital whenever you got to this part in your session?
Oh, yes, we did.
I was looking through on this and I was like, I don't see where they had us to program the hospital. Like, I don't remember the instructions. I think they just told us to say
They
we could
told
do
us how
it.
to do it.
Color
yeah.
is helping a lot.
And then, I mean, it should be pretty simple to work through.
I know she can do it, and then she'll be able to show them. Okay, so has everybody made everyone sick, infected?
and we made
I'm
it
sick
healthy.
and we're
All right,
healthy.
so
I have
let's-
shots.
Let's. Now this is something that.